Thank you for tuning in to this special bonus edition of the Shenanigans podcast. Now, the phrase, "let them eat cake," is often attributed to Queen Marie Antoinette, though there's actually no record of her having ever said it. But the story goes that in France, during the reign of her husband, King Louis XVI, upon being told that the people were suffering due to widespread bread shortages, the queen supposedly replied with, "let them eat brioche," which eventually came to be translated to cake. Now, since brioche was a luxury bread, enriched with butter and eggs, the quote reflected her supposed disregard for the poor. And although this anecdote was never cited by opponents of the monarchy at the time of the French Revolution, it did acquire strong symbolic importance in subsequent histories when pro-revolutionary historians sought to demonstrate the obliviousness and selfishness of the French upper classes at the time. So, why am I talking about desserts and the French Revolution? I'm not. What I am talking about is politicians who abuse their positions for personal gain with little to no regard for their constituents. Yesterday, I read excerpts from speeches given by Senate President Jocons Paules and House Speaker Sabino Anastasio. Today, thanks to Palauan journalist Ongerung Gambes-Gesole, I'm going to go ahead and let you hear both the speeches in full. So let's go ahead and start with Senate President Jocons Paules.
Gitutaw lekorgay bedul speaker magamir bekl adra olbira lulang martiang mar magala kablement umayul gupti adra belul sumerial mem satyal sekdel wasen ngara morning. Good morning to everyone. It's a great honor and privilege for me to be here this morning with the Speaker of the House and to welcome all the investors from the People's Republic of China who are here with the Speaker as we can witness today for this big ceremony for the groundbreaking of Wyndham Global Resort. I feel that today is the beginning of our friendship with People's Republic of China. So I'm asking Minister Charles Obiang to turn one of his side to look into the good friendship that People's Republic of China is showing us today. As you know, Senate of the Republic of Palau is in line with the President of the Republic of Palau that we encourage high-end investment that can promote Palau through good environment and make Palau a real pristine paradise.
帕劳已经通过了立法，立法规定了帕劳欢迎辐射师来共建这个天堂。
Minister Obiang, our office in Taiwan will stop bullying for the peoples of the mainland China, and then so we can become more closer, friendly with the People's Republic of China. There's no such thing good to be friend with the People's Republic of China, the second great country in the world when it comes to trade and commercial development in the island like the Republic of Palau. I think it's about time that we focus our interest and views toward the People's Republic of China for more development and infrastructure that I feel that some other countries may be sure to do, but People's Republic of China will be committed to help us through tourism and many more infrastructure. As you know, we are trying to help Palau Visitors Authority to promote Palau in mainland China, and that is one of our focus. So let's be friends with them so they can accommodate and accept our Palau Visitors Authority when they have trips to mainland China to promote the Republic of Palau.
帕劳政府实践本次推广。
Before I finish, may I have a pleasure to introduce to you everybody here, Councillor Lee from the Office of People's Republic of China in Ponape, who is with us today. And I want to thank all of you, peoples from the Republic of China who are here with us this morning. You make the day, beautiful day today, and just because of your big investment that show that Palau will shine with the People's Republic of China for the years to come. And I hope we can see the real good result from this development, that someday People's Republic of China and Republic of Palau will become more closer and closer and be good friends from now in the future to come. Thank you.
我非常。
That was again Senate President Hoconspales exalting the Chinese investors. Now let's hear what House Speaker Sabino Anastasio had to say.
This morning is a very special day for the state of Lake, the Republic of Palau, and the People's Republic of China. Several years ago, I met a young lady, beautiful
非常漂亮。
young Chinese lady. Her name is
她的名
Selena
字是
Chin Song. She became my friend, actually become our daughter. She wants to be my daughter with my wife Kuyen.
真的是我
And
的
I
女
told
儿。
her she is the first daughter to be very light skinned, you know, looks like Chinese. But today, after that friendship, she wanted to invest in Palau. So we spent about several weeks. I wanted to take her to SR, but she decided that she likes sunset view. So she and my wife overwhelmed me and took the project to Lake. So today is the day
现在今天
that Selena and the Chinese investors have decided to invest in Palau, and surely they invest in Palau at the high end, and it really fit on the law that President of the Republic of Palau and the
并且
members
正好和
of the
帕劳的最
Congress
高法律所
supported,
通过的法律
which
来改
is
善帕劳的基础设施。
which is the high end.
我们因此呢，
Although this resort will expand the water
如果我
system
们开展这个度假区的工程，我们将
for the Abiang and Leui Hamlet, where I come from, you know.
将为
They will also improve the road. The hotel will improve the road, and will work with the governor in the state of Lake to improve the tourist sites and all other tourist attraction in the Republic of Palau. The available jobs that the hotel will provide will first go to the people of Lake, and when there's no more, then the SR people, and then the rest will be other
如果
Palauans.
说没有这个项目，阿美尼克都
That
将没
will
有。
be the ranking, as I have said, you know. Anyway, this morning, it is an
总的
honor
来说呢，
that this is probably the single largest investment from China to Palau. And while the debate is going on between the tourists from China, we believe that this resort will bring more tourists from China.
我们帕劳带来越来越多的。
It will help PBA in promoting tourism in China. I'd like to thank Aizul, President of the Senate and all the senators, my colleagues, the delegates in the House of Delegates, governors, ministers, and every government officials for attending this groundbreaking ceremony this morning. I join with the Senate President in welcoming Ms. Lee, Counselor from the Chinese Embassy in FSM, for gracing this occasion this morning. Like the Senate President, friendship of the people of Palau in China has already begun. And this ceremony today is a continuation of that initiative. We ask Ms. Lee to continue to send more investment from China to Palau. The Senate President has offered her an apartment in Palau, so she will be here a little bit more, and then can help Palau. Why don't we give her a hand? Again, thank you very much, Senate President and everyone, my colleagues in the House and the Vice President of the Senate and floor leader, all the senators. Thank you for gracing this period. We know that 700 plus workers who are going to work related to this hotel will contribute a lot to the revenue and more tourists to the Republic of Palau. Thank you very much.
Now, it's easy enough to infer from what they've said in their speeches that this development deal is probably to their personal benefit. The House Speaker made many revelations in his speech, including that the Senate President had provided an apartment for Chinese investors so they can be more comfortable when they're in Palau. After publishing my podcast episode last night, I was gifted with a copy of the environmental assessment for this particular development project. Now, I'm what some people might consider investigative. Others would probably refer to me as malamlim, and I've actually heard the phrase nosy bitch a few times throughout my life. And that's all good because I'm not doing this to make friends. I mean, if anything, I'm probably more likely to make enemies. But y'all have the right to know what's up and what's going on. So I did some reading for you. And here's how it went. First, there's a whole section about who's involved in the project and who prepared the EA itself. This is what it says on page 6 of the report under section 2.4, Project Consultant. Star Express was contracted to prepare the environmental assessment for this project. The lead preparer has a bachelor's and master's degrees in natural resources and environmental management from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. The focuses of the degrees are in the areas of Geographical Information Systems, GIS, Forest Management, Water Use Management, and Socioeconomic Valuation of Natural Resources. As part of their education, the lead preparer took courses in environmental assessment that included practical preparation of EAs as part of their coursework to build experience in preparing EAs. The lead preparer has worked in Palau for the last 6 years at the national government in the environmental field and also as a private consultant in developing and implementing various projects, including EA preparations. The EA Preparer's Statement of Accountability is attached as Appendix 1 of this EA. Unfortunately for me, there were no appendices included in my copy of the EA, but it's okay because we'll get there. Now, for me, it's curious that the preparer of this document would leave their information out. I mean, one can only wonder if it's because they thought they were irrelevant to the study or if it's because maybe they shouldn't have been involved in it. Now, again, I don't know. I'm speculating. What I do know is that technology and the internet are tools that I've been using since the mid-1990s, and I'm fairly adept at finding bits of information here and there. So here's what I learned. Now, based on the information provided in the blurb, I was able to search for Palauans who work in the environmental field in the government of Palau and cross-referenced it with Palauans who have both their undergrad and master's from UH Manoa. I kinda got leads from it, but honestly, nothing concrete. I thought I was shit out of luck But then my inner graphic designer started looking at the layout and format of the report, which, by the way, is really clean. Now, every consultant whose work I had seen while living and working in Palau has their own style, their own company name. Their work is fairly identifiable. I know that if EAs were prepared by the Kitalongs, it would have a specific format and layout, it looks a certain way, and it would also have their names on it. I know that if an EA was prepared by Cambes Quesole, it'll say Campor Analytic, and for the most part, they're actually really well put together. I mean, they're pretty to look at. This EA has a clean, modern, minimalist look, but it was also kind of familiar. So I went and looked through the EAs that are available online, and I noticed one that was totally similar in style. However, it was prepared by a different company. It was prepared by Sith Consultancy for the Siegfried Nakamura building at TDOC. Now, because I am by trade a graphic designer, I have certain habits when it comes to creating files, and one of them is labeling my files. Based on that, I opened the property window for the Imalik Development EA, and you will never guess what it said. Author, Sith Consultancy. Subject, Anastasio. So, comparing the two EAs, I realized that Sith Consultancy and Star Express not only have the same mailing address, they have the same basic biographical data for their consultant. I went ahead and I posted screenshots from both EAs for you to look at and compare and contrast, and just go ahead and take a look in the blog post. Anyway, all hyped up from this discovery, I guess, I decided to do more investigative work. Because everything kind of seems to make its way to the internet over time, I used everything I had figured out thus far, and I did some snooping around EQPB, and it led me to the Ministry of Natural Resources, Environment, and Tourism. More specifically, it led me to an individual by the name of Gwen Seashore. Now, I was under the impression that it was a policy violation of sorts for someone who works under that specific ministry to work on EAs. I don't have the documentation to prove that. What I do have is the strong belief that it is pretty damn shady and unethical to be working for the Ministry of Natural Resources, Environment, and Tourism, but also working on environmental assessments for already suspect politicians on the side. That said, I'm sure Gwen Seashore has her reasons, and I'm not here to judge her. So, getting back to this environmental assessment, now I'd seen photos and read a few reports about the Wyndham Palau project. I didn't fully grasp the scope and size of this project until I started reading through the environmental assessment. Here are a few of the notes about the size, design, and the whole project concept. The goal of the proposed project is to develop high-end facilities that would cater to various types of guests, ranging from the normal tourists to interested vacation home owners. The objective of the project is to construct 5 types of accommodation buildings, such as a hotel complex, overwater bungalows, mangrove villas, mountain villas, and an apartment complex, as well as other resort facilities that would cater to those various guest preferences. That's a lot of shit. The project is estimated to use about 80% of the total terrestrial site and about 30% of the marine area. The terrestrial site will experience the removal of trees, cut and fill, and construction of buildings. The marine environment will have dredging to deepen the water, land reclamation, beach, and construction of overwater structures. The 3 phases of development have potential impacts on the environment and society for the short term and long term as changes are being made with the introduction of the resort development. Again, that's a lot of shit, and they lost me at dredging. The proposed project consists of the pre-construction, construction, and operational phases. Assuming that construction proceeds following the above-mentioned schedule, preliminary estimation costs for the proposed project would be approximately $60 million. The funding sourced for the proposed hotel and resort development are private funding and/or investments. There are no state funds or public funds associated with either the construction or operation of the proposed development. $60 million is, and I believe this is the proper scientific term, a shit ton of money. Like, this resort has more zones than my brain could even process. But since I can't really fully process them still, I'm going to go ahead and just make these notes all available online for anyone who'd like to know more. Now, there's a whole section in there that discusses alternatives to building what they're building where they're building it. No action on the site would entail leaving the site as is, continuing the existing condition and situation of this site. This alternative is not feasible, as this would mean no development and therefore no economic benefits would be received by the proponent nor the state, as well as the Republic in taxes that it would gain as a result of this project. That amounts to a really polite way of saying, if we can't build it, we can't pay you money in taxes. So you should let us build it. Alarming as this all is, my primary concern while reading the EA was the actual impact it would have, and damn does it make an impact. Here are just a few examples, sourced directly from the report. An assessment was conducted by the Bureau of Cultural and Historical Preservation, BCHP, that found the presence of terraces and Japanese trenches that were present within the project site. A reconnaissance survey confirmed a long World War II trench along with a set of prehistoric terraces. A potential World War II bottle was also found within the site, along with a small stack of rocks that could have been a small dock in the mouth of an intermittent stream and shards of pottery. Next section. As noted above in the previous section, there were some historical or cultural artifacts that were found at the site. However, since the viability of the project depends on the use of the entire area as proposed, the artifacts will be impacted as they are located in areas where buildings are expected to be constructed on. This project will result in the loss of those historical artifacts. Excuse me, what? So y'all can build up a resort that you know damn well will hardly employ Palauans and will result in the loss of historical artifacts? Okay, well, let's look at potential impacts on marine resources. The marine area will have dredging, which will disturb the soil and create potential sedimentation to nearby and surrounding areas. There will also be heavy machinery used for the construction of the marine water facilities that will also generate noise that can disturb the marine species within the area and surrounding waters. During the construction period, there will be heavier traffic in the area with the use of waters to transport materials, as well as the traffic from workers needed for the construction on the marina and the water bungalows. There are potentials for dropping materials in water during construction or transportation. Okay. The construction phase of the project in the marine area will also disturb the marine species with the introduction of noise, potential water pollution, and human traffic in the area. The noise generated from the construction of the marine facilities can affect the construction area as well as the surrounding marine areas. Potential water pollution can also have the same effect as the noise, as it can spread to other areas. The human traffic in the area is noted to include the machinery that is used, as they will both generate noise and potential pollution in the marine areas. Y'all seriously? And you're still gonna build this? Alright, well, let's look at potential impacts on terrestrial resources then. In a natural habitat, any disturbance will affect the wildlife resources that are found within and surrounding that area. The clearing of vegetation, noise throughout the construction phase of the project, and increase in human traffic in the area are expected to have potential impact on wildlife resources. But I guess it's just wildlife, so oh well? How about regulated and protected species? I wonder if they count for anything. There are several bird species such as the bib, which are protected by law, as some bird species are not allowed to be hunted. The proposed project will disturb their habitat during construction with the noise, traffic, and air pollution. The removal of trees may potentially affect their nesting habitats, although no nests were found during the multiple assessments of the site. They didn't find any nests, so I guess it's not really anything to have to worry about, right? The most significant impact to the hamlet from this development is the unequal resident-to-visitor ratio. Currently, the hamlet is a homogeneous Palauan village, which will change with the hotel development when it will be occupied by guests and employees. This has the potential for creating tensions between the villagers and the hotel development. The other negative impact would be the resident-to-visitor ratio, as the culture and lifestyle of the village might clash with different changes in lifestyle and potential implications on infrastructure resources. With that potential, the impact of resident to visitor ratio was rated as severe, while the reduction in village aesthetics only moderate. Just to clarify, that's kind of a polite way of saying we're gonna gentrify the fuck out of your village. We were like multiple families living here, we've lived here since the dawn of man, but now there's gonna be a lot more of other people than us, and we have to be careful that our lives don't interfere with what the visitors want because they're hotel guests and they're spending money, so don't make too much noise and make sure your masang doesn't get in the way, and maybe you should hold that omangat somewhere else because, you know, it might disrupt the tourists. That's just my take on that, but yeah. During the construction phase of the project, water from the municipal water supply will be used to supply water to the construction site when needed and may potentially cause an additional burden on the system. The work will be scheduled to reduce the overlap of water use with the local villagers. Also, the proponent will inform the water operators when large water uses to ensure that the system is able to provide that water without putting too much pressure on the system. So basically they're going to screw with Imalig's water resources, but it's cool, right? Because water hours and droughts, that was just training to get the good folks of Imalig through this. See, there's a method to their madness in there somewhere, right? This development does require several construction activities such as clearing, cutting and filling, land reclamation, and dredging in order to enable the construction of this resort. This results in various environmental impacts, both in the terrestrial and marine areas. There are also social implications as a result of this development, notably the reduction of fishing capacity for fishers in the village as the site was easily accessible. Which amounts to saying we're gonna fuck with your food security and sustenance fishing, but it's okay, you don't need to fish, y'all can just buy food, that's why you have stores. Two closing notes, maybe a third depending on how I feel after the first two. Number one, y'all don't need me to show you the difference between right and wrong. I've read you passages from this EA, I've made the information available on my website, so you can decide for yourselves if you believe this is the right decision for Imalig, if you think it's the right decision for Palau. Two, I want to address a rumor that I have seen online. Now, based on his speech and also on this EA itself, we can see that this project is very clearly connected to Speaker of the House, Sabino Anastasio. I get that. But there's this rumor going around that says he's trying to push this project through EQPB and that he's trying to get a FONSI, findings of no significant impact, issued so that he can move it right on through. And I think that that is insulting to his intelligence to say that he's trying to bypass the proper steps. Clearly, this developmental project is a major one and will require a more intensive review of the site for social, historical, and environmental impact. And the Speaker of the House is a smart enough man to realize it. He wouldn't be the primary on a whole other project in KLIOU if he didn't understand the amount of time and work that goes into these things. Moreover, if his investors can drop 60 million for this project, I'm sure that a little more investment to make sure that it's done correctly won't trouble them at all. Oyix, wait. There was a third point that I wanted to make, but it's not like fully related. Okay, so if you go to my website, merirei.com, and you check the post for this episode, you will see a link towards the bottom that refers to Ngarbalas Island. Let me read you a couple of things. An island purchase of this caliber is for discerning clients who appreciate the preserved natural wonder and rare mineral environment Ngarbalas offers. Ngarbalas Island comprises approximately 20.8 acres of leasehold property in one of the most gorgeous and exclusive locations in Palau. Situated in the western Pacific Ocean between Guam and the Philippines, Ngarbalas is the third largest island in the Nanigans Atoll, located near the northern tip of the Republic of Palau. So it's classified as non-developed leasehold, price available upon request. It's one of those, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. So for my listeners with ties to Nanigans, take a look at this if you haven't looked at it already. I want to hear what you guys think about one of your own islands being for sale. Thank you again for tuning in to this bonus episode of the Nanigans podcast, your Palauan answer to Rachel Maddow. But I guess if it's in Palauan, I'm more like Ra'al, Mado, or like branch, window. Y'all, I think I'm onto something here though. Anyway, be sure to keep an eye out for next week's episode, and remember, don't drink and drive, don't drink and dial, don't drink and text, don't drink and tweet, don't drink and do anything you might regret come morning, because come morning, you'll regret it.